According to research, 47% are providing ongoing financial assistance to their adult children. And about a third of younger adults between ages 18 and 34 still live with their parents. And that's just the more tangible financial trends. Not to say it's necessarily bad, but it does open up the dynamic to enabling your adult child and crossing over into the invisible impacts like in their behaviors and relational success as a whole. After 8 years of helping older adults turn their retirement years into their best years, full of energy and purpose and passion, I have found that relationships are at the heart of their success. And this topic of relationships with adult children does come up often. So in this video, you will learn 6 clear ways to tell if you are enabling your adult child. If you answer yes to 4 or more of these, it's not all doom and gloom. May you use it in an empowering way to focus on the aspects that are in your control to better your relationship. This is part 1 of a 2-part video series. Part 2 is how to stop your enabling adult child. And this part 1 is about how to tell if you are enabling your adult child and the specific signs to look out for, starting with a very common one. Number 1, you make excuses for their behavior. As any parent knows, raising children is a very challenging task. Even as parents to adult children, there are so many things to worry about, from their health and safety to their education and their future. And of course, worrying about whether or not you are doing enough and then asking yourself, how involved should you be? Sure, maybe they're just going through a phase, or maybe they will outgrow it. But if you straight up find yourself making excuses for your grown child's non-ideal behaviors, it may be time to take a step back and reassess that approach. By the way, excuse making in general is pretty common, given that the average American makes 2,190 excuses per year to validate their decisions. So definitely worth a deeper, closer look. Either way, making excuses for your grown kids won't really change any behaviors that you want to improve. So it is worth investigating. Number 2 goes a bit deeper in that you take action and you protect them from consequences. So the enabling parent tends to protect their children from the consequences of their adult children's actions. This might seem like a good thing at first, but coming to the rescue can be a major form of codependence that can then lead to serious problems later on. And when you consider the fact that research estimates over 90% of the American population demonstrates codependent behavior, it's worth stopping that generational cycle. Sometimes overprotecting your adult child can mean that you're effectively taking away their intrinsic power and motivation to change or improve their own situation. A lot, if not all, of our mistakes are great learning lessons, and productive failure is a real thing, where the teaching method allows the learners to find solutions themselves. There are learning lessons to glean from making mistakes. You can guide and positively influence, but it's wise to not full-blown protect and wall off exposure to consequences. As awkward and hard as it is, there's a benefit to safely, of course, allowing your grown children to experience the natural consequences of their actions. Same thing goes for little ones and grandchildren. Number 3 is another common one. You bail them out financially. It's no secret that many adults rely on their parents for financial support. And according to research, that number has been steadily increasing over a 50-year span that impacts now older adults. Between 1960 and 2010, there's been growing parental economic power in parent-adult-child households and increased co-residence and financial dependency in the United States. And another recent study found that nearly half of all adults between the ages of 18 and 34 receive financial assistance from their parents. Does that mean never lend your kids money? Of course not. But what separates the enabling parent from the non-enabling parent is that they bail out their children without question or any hesitation, like it's the norm or expectation. So if you never say no, your adult children will likely never learn the value of self-reliance, which can also create that cycle of codependence. And it's your chance to give them their own chance to manage their own finances. Along the same vein, but not as obvious, is number 4, you do their things instead of them. Enabling parents often find themselves doing things for their children that they're perfectly capable of doing themselves. This can look like so many things, and it can shapeshift too, so dig deep in your own analyzing. Things like laundry, cooking, or cleaning their apartment, sometimes gifting too much, and everything in between. While it's very natural to want to help your children, it's worth watching the fine lines and trying not to do everything for them. Not only will the expectation creep in, but you'll also steal away their sense of ownership and accomplishment and responsibility, which of course prevents them from learning how to manage all of their own things. Plus, sometimes simply doing things for your grown children may come across as controlling, which of course doesn't have a positive impact. A study found that over-controlling parenting can have negative effects on a child's ability to manage his or her own emotions and behaviors, let alone the impact on your adult child's spouse or family if they have one. All in all, it is worth aiming for your child's autonomy as you give appropriate guidance. A good rule of thumb to follow is next time you're tempted to do something for your child, first stop and ask yourself if they're capable of doing it themselves. If yes, just step back and try to get into a habit of letting them handle it themselves. Number 5, you're the main decision maker in their life. Sometimes enabling gets real deep, and it's as if the child-parent dynamic from when they're very young just ensues. For example, when your kids are young, there's a time where you make most of the decisions for them, whatever they wear, what they eat, where they go to school, how to manage their health and medical needs. And then healthy parent-child dynamics shift. And of course, as they grow older, you gradually give them more and more choices and control over their own lives. By the time they reach adulthood, they should be fully capable of making their own decisions. Unfortunately, enabling parents get stuck in their involvement, trying to control their children's lives, so to speak, even after they're grown, which then becomes a disservice. Studies show that by being overprotective, you're actually harming your children. And in fact, when you do things for them that they're perfectly capable of doing themselves, it's like you rob them of the opportunity to fully mature and develop essential coping skills. What's more, you also send the message that you don't really believe in their ability to succeed, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem that can plague them in adulthood. All this to say, overprotectiveness of parents leads to lower self-esteem of their adult children. So if you find yourself making decisions for your adult kids or frequently telling them what to do, it may be time to step back and then reflect, reevaluate your own involvement level. And number 6, your child is disrespectful. I don't wish this upon anybody, but sadly, one of the most obvious signs that enabling is happening is if they become disrespectful towards you. This can certainly shapeshift and manifest in so many ways, but it might include things like talking to you in a condescending or belittling way, disregarding your wishes and your own desires, being outwardly annoyed with you, or even making threats. Of course, this is not easy to deal with, and we have a whole nother video dedicated to this topic on how to deal with disrespectful adult children. But for right here, right now, it's about checking in just to see if you can spot these signs in your dynamic, to see if enabling is even happening. We often hear terms like helicopter parenting or lawnmower parenting thrown around. And there's also enabling mother syndrome. While it may not be as widely recognized, and enabling mother syndrome doesn't have a universally accepted definition because it isn't found in psychological or medical textbooks, it is broadly understood as a pattern where a parent continually oversteps in to solve their grown child's challenges, thereby preventing them from becoming fully independent or learning the things they need to learn from their own mistakes. Of course, it's not referring to the occasional help or guidance or support that parents naturally provide their children, but it's more of a consistent pattern that inhibits their overall growth and independence. And if you're wondering why the term has mother and not father, it's basically due to traditional gender roles in our society, where mothers are often perceived as the primary caregivers, nurturing and protecting their children. But regardless of whether you're a mom or a dad, if any of these enabling signs resonate with you, a great rule of thumb to set for yourself will be in boundaries. Rather than setting the unrealistic expectations of obliterating all of the enabling habits straight from the jump, it's about setting boundaries and then cleaning up from there. There are so many great quotes about boundaries, and two of the bigger hits are from Brene Brown, who said, Boundaries define our limits and protect our inner peace. And Oprah, who said, setting boundaries is an act of self-love. For steps on how to stop enabling your adult kids, head over to our part 2 video on that exact topic. And remember, your relationships are just one facet of a fully energizing and purposeful, robust retirement. So if you want comprehensive help achieving your ideal retirement life, relationships included, head over to our free workshop and please watch how to turn your successful career into a successful retirement. Thank you so much for watching. I am Cyn Meyer, your very passionate retirement life coach. I will see you in the next video.